Hello out there. Welcome everybody. This is such an exciting day. It is our finale for the Start Strong Writing Challenge. Woo! So I don't want to waste a lot of time. We know the drill. We all were here for the Start Strong Writing Challenge, and you all did a fantastic job. We asked you to write a story of less than 1,000 words. There it is. Write a story of less than 1,000 words. We asked you to use our prompts that we gave you at random. The object that you had to include was a pair of was this was kind of complicated. A campsite on the shore of a man-made lake that drowned a town and still contained the structures in the graveyard. Verb was flambe. So we started you off with those prompts, those things that we asked you to include, and I have to say, you did a really good job. Very few entries were didn't follow the guidelines. You came up with creative ways of working through this. This was actually more fun than your work in progress. That's great. We really do try to keep our challenges fun and exciting. That was fun, yes. Uh, Hold on here. I was seeing something else. Yes. How many submissions were entered? We had about 110, more or less. So yeah, it was a lot to go through, but it was great to see so many people make it to the finish line. The plot twist, the first one was betrayal. You had to include some sort of betrayal, either from a person or something relied on that fails the main character. And then the second twist, which we revealed just last week, was something or someone. This you will see later with some of the entries. People did not take that literally, and that is fine. It was a prompt. I think I might be back. I don't know what happened there. I like went into the matrix for a second. It's like, whoa, the awesomeness of these entries was just too much. I couldn't handle it. All right, but with before we start with our readings, yeah, I'm sorry if my signal's sketchy. I don't know if it's my internet or something. Nothing on my side seems to be wrong. So, yes, I do want to give away some prizes. So, the first prize that I want to give away is a story doctor. Okay. And the story doctor is going to go to Jennifer Keifer, I believe. That's the email I have here. So, Jennifer Keifer, congratulations. You're the winner of a story doctor. That one, this is going to be an appointment you can schedule at any time. You'll be given a link that you can make an appointment and you can make it with me and, learn more about your book or ask any sort of questions. The next one is going to go to Debbie Flax. So, congratulations to you, Debbie. I pulled those like right before the show. I'm going to pull up some more here, so it'll take me a little bit longer. The next one is going to be for our character chemistry love workshop. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that a little bit later. But that's coming up this month, or well, this upcoming month. We're almost there. And that's going to Helen Hewitt. All right. So, congratulations to you. I also have a character chemistry hate workshop. Again, I'll be talking about them again in just a bit. I'm going a little quick. because I've got a lot to read here. We are going to be reading non-suspense. All right. The next workshop, and those both are workshops with me. The next one, though, is a very special workshop from Gareth that's going to be coming up uh, in the next week, and that is the Iconic Killers workshop. In that one, Gareth is going to go over what it takes to make an iconic killer, and that one is going to Sylvia Krim. Sylvia Krim. And the last prize that I'm going to be giving away is a free seat or complimentary seat just for being part of the Start Strong Challenge. And this is a complimentary seat to our Penning Passion romance course taught by the award-winning author Kara Crescent, who does a fantastic job. And that is going to let's see here. It's going to Samantha Brooke. Samantha Brooke, congratulations to you. So for those of you who won the prizes of the excuse me, the academy workshops and courses, you will see those automatically reflected in your account. You don't have to do anything. For those of you who are wanting to do the story doctor, you will get a invite, and you'll have to actually schedule that because it is at your own convenience. All right, but we have another prize, of course, to give away, and that's going to be the grand prize for the Start Strong Challenge. And that one's fun because we'll give the winner a choice of two of all of the things that I just mentioned. So there we go. So you get to come to a bunch of workshops, or you can do a bunch of story doctors, or you can kind of mix and match or any of that stuff. Of course, it's a wonderful prize just to be involved and just to make the finals because it's tough. I'm going to tell you, it's tough. It is tough making the finals. We have a very talented group of people. So if you did not make the finals, I want you to understand I might have had a different list of finals on a different day, right? When we go through this and we're looking this out, looking at, it can be challenging when you have this many entries. So please, please, please don't take it personally. Don't be discouraged. It is a tricky thing. There is a little bit of, I don't want to say like pure luck because we do try to look at skill when we're doing this, but there is a little bit of hitting the right person at the right time and whatnot. So anyway, I just don't want you to at all be discouraged if you didn't make the finals. All right. So on to the finals. Of course, for all of you, you have the ability to help us because you're going to select who the grand winner is. So let's get to them, shall we? Our first finalist is The Miracle of Guadalupe Bass. And I will the authors' names. I don't know whether or not these authors eventually are going to publish this work or what they might do with it. So I don't want to mess with any of that. So I'll just go ahead and read it. And at the very end, we'll get a survey and you'll pick your winners. So pay attention, but I will try to give you a little bit of description in the survey to help you beyond the title. And I believe we have one that is even untitled this time around. Okay. Without further ado, retired Sheriff Earl Mays roared down the fishing pier as fast as his 300 pounds would allow, a lighter in one hand and a can of bug spray in the other, bellowing, "Get off my pier before I flambe your sorry ass." As a former mental health specialist, I've learned moments like these can be très insightful, as long as you keep your composure and organize your thinking. My first thought, for example, was, how in the hell did a friendship of over 50 years deteriorate into such absurdity? One old man screaming at another while one of their sons gaped in amusement and horror. I don't know what set Earl off. He was the one who decided to call off what would have been our 40th annual entry into the Cedar Mesa Reservoir Bass Masters tournament with no explanation whatsoever. That old fart and I have been fishing buddies since our dads taught us how to bait a hook and cast a line. We were a solid team, winning a majority of the tournaments we entered. And then one day he texts me, "Can't do the tournament." That's it, including the period. He was pissed about something and was ignoring my calls. And now he's charging down the pier. I may have been wrong about the 300-pound thing. He lost about 50 pounds, I think, and added some muscle. Second thought. In the snub to Marcy, she said, "Life moves on," and then reminded me that our son Charlie was coming into town this weekend. So I asked the fish kid to fish with me, and he said yes. And this morning, he showed up right on time, 4 a.m., ready to. Jesus Christ, Charlie, what the hell happened to your feet? This is me exclaiming. Charlie is confused. What do you mean? You're wearing socks. No, Dad, these are shoes. They're comfortable. They're all there. Please don't say it. Ballet shoes, he said. What? They're cheap and portable. Amy Winehouse used to wear them all the time. And besides, we'll be odds further downstream from the dangers of Guadalupe River flooding. The bad news, they drowned the town of Evening Primrose. Well, the buildings, not the people. I mean, the living people, they're only a handful and they moved out. The dead people stayed, though, because they were buried already. Makes for interesting scuba dives and colorful ghost stories. I'm sure you've heard a few. Earl and I grew up in Cedar Mesa and explored every nook and cranny of the lake, including this old abandoned campsite where we found the best fishing. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know if it's kind of buffering here. Um, yeah. Hopefully you can read it if you break it up a little bit. Uh, I don't know everything. All of my settings look totally normal, so I'm not sure what's going on with the internet connection around here. I could try another. Yeah, I think it's a connection thing, right? Yeah, my internet must not be particularly strong right this moment. I'm sorry. I don't know what's up. Um, Earl and I grew up in Cedar Mesa and explored every nook and cranny of the lake, including this old abandoned campsite where we found the best fishing. Okay, Earl's slowing down again. He's bent over, hands on knees, catching his breath. Fourth thought, despite the weird ass shoes, Charlie can fish. The morning dew means a slippery pier, but he managed to wrestle in the first fish, a Guadalupe bass, the state fish of Texas. We measured it, took a photo, and put it in the styrofoam chest. Just a second. I want to make a adjustment. Maybe this will help. Uh, okay, so I hope that this might work better in case you want to go visit them and ask. Hard pass, he said with a shiver. Besides, life moves on. I looked at my boy, this young man, and said, sometimes too fast for me. He nodded. Should I throw it back in? It's too late for the little guy now, Charlie. Oh, well, Earl's almost here now. It's worse? It's not better. It's worse. Okay. Hold on. That's weird. I don't know what I have no idea what I'm not doing anything different than normal in any of these streams. So I'm trying to figure out what is causing the issue. It seems like an internet thing. It was worse, but now it's better. It kind of leveled out. Okay, I think it's going to catch up. We'll see how this goes. I grabbed it by the tail fin, took aim, and threw the dead fish right in Earl's face. I loved hearing the wet smack and seeing Earl's dazed expression as the dead fish made contact. I keep saying dead fish, but that's not accurate, and it didn't just hit Earl in the face. Instead, it wriggled back and forth across his face, down his chest, and flopped it until it found its way back into the water. This has to be the only genuine real life miracle I've ever seen. Even Earl had to be impressed, right? But Earl still had two things going for him: momentum and a commitment to the whole bug spray torch thing. I wish Charlie had his phone out because of the image of Earl scrambling on the slick pier while also lighting the pier on fire and carrying us both into the lake would have been hilarious. On the plus side, Charlie's ballet flats helped him keep his balance, and he was able to put out the fire and fish us out of the water, sputtering and wheezing. So, guys, said Charlie, time to let a few things go, eh? We both nodded. Like I said, he's a great kid. All right, that's the miracle of Guadalupe. Sorry about the technical problems. Move on to the next one. Yeah, my internet is just not cooperating right now. Okay. Yeah. Andy dipped an oar in the lake and that's my internet. Hang on, everybody. I'm going to try something a little more dramatic. I am sorry. Like I said, this is not normal. Haven't had this issue before. Let's see here. I'm curious, is the sound okay? Or is the sound still coming in choppy? All right. So I'm gonna see if I can do this a little bit differently. Sound is laggy. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Hmm. Sound is good right now. I sound drunk. Sound is so reverb. Yeah, it is my internet signal here. Hold on. I'm gonna try to get on my hotspot. Just give me one moment. It's really funny because I've done this in like so many different locations and everything, and here I am just at home in my normal setup, and I'm having all these difficulties. Yeah, I'm sorry. Doing what I can here. It's all good choosing the time to write. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Not getting much luck with that either. I don't think that's going to be better. All right, I guess I'm going to have to just tally forth the way that we're doing this and hope for the best. So I apologize about that. Otto is the name of our bookstraut. Okay, so goes. Nope, I'm already bouncing out, but I don't know what else to do at this point. So I'm gonna have to do the best I can. I'm sorry about that. Okay, I'll plow through. All right. Andy dipped an oar in the lake and swung her kayak towards an island, setting ripples across the moon's reflection. She'd been out here since 5 in the morning, idling in the wild and praying something would appear, and now the waiting had paid off. According to the travel guide she'd picked up at the trailhead, this island did not exist. Lake Iowa covered an old mining town, the valley's abandoned buildings drowned under tons of water redirected from the dam upriver. As the nose of her kayak cut through the mist on the lake's surface, Andy imagined how its underside must look from below, seen from one of those hollow windows. Water and sky, past and present, liminal spaces blurred the lines of reality, which was why she had schlepped her kayak down the three-quarter-mile trail at 4:30 this morning in anticipation of magic hour. Why not just do drugs? Her older brother had said when she'd made the mistake of explaining her upcoming trip. He was a banker with two of the cutest kids on the planet, and he and Andy had nothing in common except their noses and a love of paranormal reality TV. What? So I can sit on my ass at home and have pretend adventures? Henry tossed a piece of popcorn at her. The food's better. Henry was great as far as his brothers went, but nothing was better than the feeling she had now, rowing towards that impossible icy water and dragged it ashore. Beyond leaned between the trees, a graveyard, and stepped between the trees. She moved quietly among the gravestones, using her phone's flashlight to peer at the names, careful to touch as little as possible. Everything about this place whispered sacred. Her pulse throbbed against the charm bracelet that had slid up her forearm. Some people collected mugs from the places they'd been, or bumper stickers, or those ugly business card sized fridge magnets. Andy had decided she wanted to wear her souvenirs, feel them weighting her arm as she drove or rode, to see all the empty links eyeing her with the promise of new things ahead. So far, she'd collected three charms: a tiny spade, a rabbit, and a pair of ballet shoes, their petal pink enamel gleaming and new. You need to leave. Andy jumped at the voice, and her phone's flashlight blinked out. The speaker stood on the far side of the graveyard, indistinct in the blue shadows. It was a woman, gray hair tied back from her face. A ghost? Maybe one of the people who once inhabited the mining town? She wore a flannel shirt and jeans, an outfit too common to place in time. I won't hurt anything, Andy promised. I just want to look. She jabbed her phone's button a few times. Out of battery already. You need to leave, the woman repeated. It's not your time. Andy nodded respectfully and backed away. No way was she leaving, not when she'd met an honest to God ghost. She needed her journal. If she couldn't record on her phone, she could at least write down what she saw. Henry was going to shit himself. But when she reached her kayak, she knew something was wrong. Its hull was weatherlogged and split in two places, the vial seat crumbling. It looked like it had seen decades of hard use. Andy stared. Her trusty kayak, her first big purchase after getting a job, ruined. The woman's voice came from behind her. I told you, you need to leave. If you're here when the sun comes, your time will change too. My time? In a flash, she understood. Not ruined, aged. Panic seized her. She threw herself against the kayak and heaved into the lake. It sank, bubbles erupting from the whole slits of sand peppered her legs. The sky was dangerously light. Andy's bracelet slapped her arm, the empty links glaring up at her. Please, oh please. The woman grabbed her wrist. Enough, follow me. Her touch was a shock, warm and solid. The wuss woman wasn't dead. She might not even be old. How long had she been here? A week? A day? Andy stumbled up the beach behind her, trying to ignore the ringing in her ears. Another campsite on the shore not far off. A small tent, a pile of blackened logs, and a makeshift raft, hand stripped branches and paracord. It looked new. The woman slung it into the water. Get on! And he did. Water sank up through the logs. It was barely wide enough to unbend her legs. What about you? The woman only lifted her arm and pulled back her sleeve. On her wrist was a charm bracelet, tarnished and pin cushion full. Andy's heart choked. She poked through the mess until she found the one she wanted, yanked it free, and dropped it in Andy's palm. Don't worry about me, she grinned. I'm right where I want to be. The woman vanished. The raft bobbed up and down on empty water. Where once was an island, the first silver of sun shot over the lake. Andy looked down at her hand. Nestled in her palm were the ballet slippers, their silver a dingy purplish swirl, the paint chipped away. Envy and anticipation shot through her. The adventures that woman must have had. She wasn't a ghost, not a bit of it. The sunrise was a riot of colors, pinks and oranges reflecting off the water, blending Lincoln sky one day. And kissed on the charm. One day she found again, and then she'd explore it from top to bottom. Between then and now, she had lives and lives to live. All right. Next story. That one is going to be in as a kayak. And again, I'm really apologizing about my internet. I'm not sure why it's being so choppy. The key to my prison arrived wearing blue jeans and a white blouse nearly 70 years after my grand failure. I floated invisible above the dock as she doffed her shoulder bag and held it over the water with trembling hands, while an aura of desperation came off her in waves. This wasn't a junkie dumping illicit paraphernalia. This was a dreamer. A dreamer, someone to help. I suppressed my excitement as I appeared in front of her, hovering over the moonlit water. She screamed, they always do, but I gave her my warmest smile and asked what she was doing at Crystal Lake in the dead of night. When she just spluttered, I waved her bag into my hands and examined the contents. Charcoal, assorted pens and pencils, and a sketchbook with the name Kata on its lake. What brings you to the lake at this mysterious hour, Kata? Or Kata? Scarlet patches appeared on Kata's face, but she spoke with confidence. I'm not cut out to be an artist. Bingo. Why not? I'm bottom of my class at Vernier Art Institute, she said. Everyone thinks I'm just there because of my family name. Perfect! I conjured my fishing rod and cast the line far and high. I dove deep into the lake, down to the bones of Free Cell City, then the rock trouble with self-doubt as well. A plump a plump young chef appeared on the lake's surface as if projected there by moonlight. Kata watched wide-eyed as Graham entered culinary school, where he struggled, almost quitting at his lowest point after burning his eyebrows off while making a fish flambe. After class every night, he went home and practiced. Pour, ignite, baste, fry. He wore his torque on graduation, and again at the grand opening of his very own restaurant, Flambe House. His signature dish, pasta bolognese. His eyebrows had never grown back. Kata's gray eyes met mine as Graham and his toque lake sank into the lake. Too often we compare our lowest states with our ideals, and we fail to recognize that there is a navigable path between the two. Graham chose to focus on his next step, not the end. But he was guided by an end goal, wasn't he? Kata asked. What if you don't know what the end goal is? Excellent question. My lips split into a grin. I cast my line again out into the depths of my prison. When the line returned, a pair of worn pink plate shoes hung from the end. Kata, meet Anna, I said, placing the shoes delicately on the surface of the lake. Again, an image appeared on the glistening screen. This time, a young woman in sheer white stockings and a black leotard leaping gracefully on a bright stage. She realized a dream with each performance, yet felt something still lacking. She sought inspiration in the dark near her studio. Then came the form of an aide. Her unique grace caught Anna's attention. Beauty and pain, a whole life lived. The swan soon died, but Anna learned its graceful movements. Soon she traveled the world as the one and only dying swan. I could try getting rid of the video and see if that would help. Let's see. I can see if Catherine. Hold on. Let me see if I can involve Catherine here. Catherine can come and save the day.
Yeah, if you
All
got the
right.
screen, I can read
Can you
too.
see what is on my screen?
Yeah, we can. I think I can see it on your screen.
I can remove myself.
Let's see if I can pull up your
Can you see it
screen
well
as the
enough? I
main
can zoom in
screen.
more too.
Yeah, let's bring your screen up bigger. There we go. Soon she traveled the world as the one and only dying swan. The point shoes sank back into the lake, and Kata looked at me expectantly. Inspiration comes to those who seek it, I said. Keep your eyes open and it will find you. Gray eyes held my gaze as if she were staring into my trapped soul. These two things alone will guarantee my dream? Guarantees, I frowned. There are no guarantees. Lapping water filled the silence until I finally removed my own leather glove for the first time in decades. I didn't watch as my younger self appeared on the lake, but I knew what Kata would see. I cut the ribbon to Freesol City Hall, shaking hands with the impeccably dressed Mr. Novak of Novak Construction. I painted the slogan, "Come, achieve your dream," on the sign at the city's entrance. I shook a fistful of geological surveys at a distraught Mr. Novak. Then I stood alone in the graveyard at Freesol City as the dam burst and the first waters of Chrysal Lake drowned my dream. The lake gulped down my glove, carrying it back to the skeleton of my hope and my shame. Dreams don't always turn out as we hope, I said to the lake. But we can adapt, redefine success. Daniel, can you scroll for me a little? Thank you. Our circumstances and still choose to act. Who was the man? A question I wasn't expecting. I turned to see an unreadable expression on Kata's face. No one, just a man who's long dead. Kata's face broke into a grin. Are you sure about that? Spectral adrenaline pumped through me as Anna walked back up the dock and returned escorting an impeccably dressed old man. Aiden Novak. He stopped at the end of the dock, inches from my seething glare. The skinner sagged around gray eyes that reflected 70 years of compounding guilt. Marcus. His voice shook worse than his hands. For 70 years, I've had a dream of forgiveness. Tonight, I've come to give up on that dream. Silence fell so deep that even the crickets stopped chirping. Before I could retort, something moved on the banks of the lake. An aged white swan. Phantom tears filled my eyes. My friend, I forgive you. True tears filled Aiden's eyes as we met in a supernatural embrace. Together we departed our prison, both finally free. The sun rose on Kata hours later, alone on the dock with her masterwork, Dreamcatcher. All right. Wait for the next one to load up here. Hey, everybody. Thank you for bearing with us. Love technology and got to bear with it at the same time. There we go. Okay. Which story are we on now, Daniel, number wise? Is this number 4? Um, the angry wind tore at the exposed skin of my face, ripping a tear from the corner of my eye. I don't think thermometers register temperatures this cold, far beyond what my dad would have described me as, or would have described as colder than a ditch digger's ass. I miss that cranky bastard, though. I hate how much my beard makes me resemble him. That's one of the new realities of this new frozen world. If you can grow a beard, you already have. Ain't much to look at, Angus said, pausing after the tortuous ascent up the hill. The sign next to us, half buried in letters peeling, read, "Welcome to Woodbridge." Beyond that, an expanse of blinding white snow that covered the frozen lake where my hometown used to be. I grunted in response. Used to be a nice place to raise a family. Nate shuffled up next to Angus. Hard to believe this is where it all started, he said between labored breaths. Somewhere under the ice, my wife and daughter floated in eternal slumber. Circe nudged my hand, pulling me from my thoughts. Circe was the only other survivor of Woodbridge, the fourth member of our expedition to recover the relic. After I had blown up the dam above the town in a desperate attempt to stop the demonic invasion, I had found her at the campground where Ellen and Katie were supposed to meet me, soaking wet and terrified, just like I had been. See that outcropping of rock over there? I said, after a few more seconds of self-indulgent guilt. Set up on the other side of it, the school is about 100 yards due north. I glanced down at Circe, tail wagging like she was having her best day ever. I've got a thing to do first, but I'll be right behind you. I gave Angus and Nate a minute, then dropped my backpack and pulled out the pair of ballet slippers I've carried with me all these years. Katie didn't even like ballet, but they were all I had left to remember her. The wind pulled another tear from the corner of my eye as I set the threadbare slippers to the signpost, and I watched them dance in the wind before Circe and I headed back to Angus and Nate. The relic was a very ordinary-looking rock about the size of a football, which was easy enough to find in the silly depths of Woodbridge as it gave off a disturbing yellowish glow that seemed to call out to us. 20 pounds of thermite, burning at over 4,000 degrees, made short work of the ice sheet over the lake, and Angus and I dove in and found it right where we expected to find it. I helped Angus out of the water and was puzzled by the look on his face after he pulled off his face mask. His eyes were locked on something behind me, and I spun around, diving knife in hand. The snow was painted bright arterial red where we had last seen Nate. I scanned the area, looking for threats, expecting a horde of demons, but there were only tattered remains of both Nate and our tents. Holding the relic like a running back, Angus ran toward the carnage, screaming out Nate's name while I called out for Circe. I found her cowering under shredded remains of one of the tents, much like I had originally found her all those years ago, except this time she was covered in blood, with blood instead of water. You okay, girl? What happened? I asked, feeling for wounds. She seemed untouched, just scared shitless by whatever had killed Nate. Angus! I yelled over my shoulder. How we doing? Looks clear. He had traded the relic for weapons and handed me the flamethrower, cradling the shotgun against his chest. I called in an evac. Timeline's moving up. Circe let out a deep growl, and I flicked on the ignition of the flamethrower. A pale blue flame lit, ready to ignite the spray of napalm in the tank when I squeezed the trigger. I stepped away from Circe as I made a slow circle, ready for anything to attack us. From the corner of my eye, I saw Angus raise his shotgun in my direction, and I dropped to a knee, ready to unleash hell. Watch out! He yelled. I spun just in time to see Circe split in half as she doubled in size. Tentacles shot out from the throbbing mass of flesh and knocked the shotgun from Angus's hand. The thing that had used to be Circe charged at him on several more legs than she'd had a second ago, and I watched as one of the tentacles stiffened like a spear and thrust into Angus's chest. His terrified eyes met mine. Flambe this bitch, he screeched. Then he let out a war scream as Circe stabbed him again and again, then tossed his lifeless body aside. Put your weapon down, Jack, Circe said. It doesn't have to be like this. Her voice deep yet oddly feminine. This is our world now, and you don't have anything left here, but you can still have a life in this new world with me. Embedded in her words, a sense of belonging. I'm not going to lie, I wanted it. Instead, I pulled the trigger, sending a stream of liquefied flame into Circe. I didn't watch her burn. Instead, I walked towards the hole we had through the ice where my wife and daughter waited. A few more steps and I could finally join them. Hey, asshole, came a weak voice behind me. You're not going to bleed me out over here, are you? I ran over to Angus as he was struggling to sit up. You are one tough bastard, I said, putting pressure on the worst of his wounds. Hold tight, evac should be here in 20. And Daniel, I don't know if you have enough audio to or want to drop in the comments what the name of that one is going to be. We got Dreamcatcher. I guess for now we can call it Circe. Okay.
Yeah, I will put it in there.
Okay. The scents roll over my tongue as I close the door behind me. Hair products and cosmetics. That hospital smell. You're not Lana. In another face, her eyes could have been warm. In Diana Hatcher's, they're glacial. No, ma'am, I am not. I smiled close-lipped, politely hiding my sharp teeth. I'm Neko, a temp. I'm assisting Dr. Reed today. She's perched on the edge of the examination table, wearing the hospital gown like it's cold to her, exuding arrogance like she isn't half naked. She's got those stupid yoga sock things that look like ballet shoes, and her hair is her hair is cooked in a perfect chignon. The frozen bust bobs next to her. A near perfect replication of her visage with a few minor changes. It's a technology that keeps her future face from melting into the carpet while hovering at mid-height like an underinflated helium balloon. Thank you for choosing Reshape Yourself for this procedure. How did you find us? She blinks. I am Reshape. I'm sorry? I smile inwardly, pretending I don't know her, all too happy to ruffle her feathers. I am Reshape, she spits. This, she jabs at the ice chunk rotating in a slow circle for the full 360 view. Reshape yourself, reshape your world. It's my tech. I am Reshape. My amusement bubbles at the cut to her ego. Oh my, you must be Administrator Hatcher. Apologies. She scoffs. I settle into the backless chair and pick up the clipboard like I care what's on it. You've been with us before, I ask. You're familiar with the procedure? A stiff sneer. You're new here, not me. Yes, of course, I reply. I'm required to explain the procedure if you'll please be patient with me. The expression on her face says she and patients don't spend much time together. Today is a pre-op appointment. We administer a half dose of anesthetic to study how your body responds to the medication. You will be somewhat sedated but aware at all times. You may find it difficult to communicate for a short period during the process. Do you have someone to drive you home? I have someone to drive me everywhere. Yes, of course, I say. Let's go ahead and get your vitals. 2 quick knocks and Dr. Reed enters. They talk as she lies back and I work. Flipping through my memory for the mission briefing provides me with instructions as I set up her lines, administer meds. Her scent begins to change and I feel the jangle in my blood. It's almost time. One arm flops off the edge of the table when her heart begins to slow. I pin the woman's wrist to her side and allow my claws to release just enough that she registers the sharpness against her skin. Her breath, hold on, there we go. Her breath catches slightly, then returns to the deep and even pattern. I've got her, Dr. Reed, I say, watching her body stiffen. is a treat. Um, I've got a little blur. I think that's Miss Mata will sit with you until you become more fully in control of your movements and will monitor for any adverse events, said Dr. Reed. Thank you for choosing Reshape, Administer. Have a wonderful day. The door snicks behind him. I lean into the woman's field of vision and smile, my sharp teeth on full display. Her heart gives a perfunctory thunk under my fingers, but the paralytic prevents a true response, even with the fear dump racing through her system. I haven't told you what a fan I am, administrator. Her pupils dilate even though her eyes can't widen. Delicious. Reshape yourself. Carve the body on the outside to disguise the evil on the inside. I give a hard poke to the frozen bust floating at my elbow. It wobbles drunkenly before returning to its lazy rotation. And reshape your world, as the advert of air conditioning built the Wild West. As Advent. Sorry, you guys. This is my first time reading these too, so thank you for bearing with me. I say while I pull out my blades. So did Reshape terraform a hostile land? This building itself sits upon what was once a camp of the unhoused back when the lake still held water. She gapes at me, mouth opening and closing, but she's not yet capable of speech. Out of the sweeping office windows is a dry depression in the earth that was once a lake. Beyond it stands the bones of the old pizzeria across the way and the cemetery nestled against it. When the lake swelled and swallowed the town, Reshape swore they could mitigate the disaster for less than FEMA. And it was true. I smiled toothily. However, you didn't stop after the waters retreated. All that fresh water gone. I take a quick swipe at her, enjoying her flinch, reveling in the symmetry of her blood flowing wet and liquid like the water she stole from us. Lena hates you. She taught me everything I needed to get this close to you. I touch my fingers together, playing with the tackiness of her blood. Her father was one of the displaced, and I was unlucky enough to be there the day you rehomed us. I lick my wet fingers. Do you recognize me? My claws are as sharp as my knives, and I use one to draw a narrow red line from the notch of her throat to the point of her chin. Did you receive tidy little reports at the end of a day of misdeeds? Do they show you the faces of the people they killed for you? I grin. Did they show you mine? I flip a blade in my hand over and over, an adept with the trick of as a master chef with his flambe pan, despite the slipperiness of his handle. And it's getting very slippery. I smear a messy fingertip along the glittering hardness of her future face until it resembles the real one. She's recovered enough from the anesthesia to whimper pitifully. Oh, yes, she knows who I am. She knows I survived. I wonder what lies beneath the reshaped facade. Secret, surely. Compassion? Empathy? Probably not. One more flip of the blade before I raise it to her eye. Let's find out, shall we? Another 1,000 words would have been fine. Loading it up here. There we go. Gramps didn't mind sacrificing a few townspeople for the greater good. What was one more? After all, it had been going on for centuries, every 50 years, like clockwork. Brian checked the time on his wristwatch, then looked across the campsite at Jessica. A sleek black wetsuit clung to her lithe form, making her look like an elongated seal. A sparkle on her left hand caught his attention. Hun, he called. Let me hold the ring while you go down. The last thing we need is for it to fall off as you're swimming over the graveyard or something. Good thinking. Jessica twisted her grandmother's princess-cut diamond engagement band off her dainty finger and dropped it into his outstretched palm. I know you don't want to talk, wedding plans until after I earn my prima ballerina title, but I picked a dress. The ring matches it perfectly. Sounds good, babe. He shuffled the ring into the front pocket of his jeans. It would come in handy for the next one. But remember, you should focus on your career. Are you sure what you told me is true? Jessica asked, pulling the oxygen tank onto her back and fitting her face mask into place. Magical ballet slippers sound like something out of a fairy tale. Brian adjusted the tank's straps for a better fit across her shoulders. I swear it on my father's grave, he said aloud. Mentally, he added, which is heaped on the others in the underwater graveyard. Brian's thoughts strayed back to his 18th birthday, when Gramps out here for had brought him out here for the first time. Gramps told him how, centuries ago, he flooded the lake to contain an invincible creature. The death of a few townspeople potentially saved millions of lives, according to Gramps. Tell me the directions again, baby, so I don't mess up, Jessica urged and stepped toward him. Brian recapped his tall tale about a pair of well-worn ballet shoes that had the power to send the most uncoordinated of dancers to prima ballerina status. Dive straight down, swim along Main Street until you reach the museum. And they're in a glass box on the second floor in the back, Brian said. He put the regulator box into her mouth, patted her on the behind, and said, Scoot and get back. I'll keep the campfire burning. Maybe while you're gone, I'll flambe these berries we picked last night. Brian stood at the edge of their campsite and watched his fiancée, soon to be ex-fiancée, disappear under the surface of the man-made lake. He waited a few minutes to make sure she didn't have a change of heart. A sudden ripple across the surface of the water sent his heart into his stomach. He murmured, No, 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 no. Don't come back. Stay down there. I don't have time to go through this again. And it was true. He didn't. Gramps made a deal with the creature, 50 extra years of life for each sacrifice into the lake. The deal extended to each person in the family bloodline. It wasn't immortality, but it was damned close. One failure to offer a sacrifice, however, would end the agreement to that particular family member. Brian wouldn't make the same mistakes Gramps and his father had made. A bout of illness kept Gramps from making his deadline. Brian's father hadn't even tried, but instead offered himself up as a sacrifice, which was the dumbest ever in Brian's mind. It didn't even count toward anyone's extra half century of living. Who wouldn't want to live forever? The ripples on the surface of the water grew along with Brian's heartbeat until a tentacle the size of a utility pole rose into the air. Just as quickly, it slapped the lake, sending a spray of water wide enough to sprinkle his clothing. Brian's breath let out in a whoosh of relief. He stood with military precision, brought his fingers to his temple, and snapped a mock salute. See you in 50 years, buddy. Turning his attention to the campsite, Brian's eyes went to the makeshift foil bowl Jessica created the previous evening. Berries filled it to the brim. Grandpa had taught Brian to never eat those berries, but Jessica couldn't know that bit of botany. Jessica also didn't know that Brian would have let her eat enough of the berries for her to fall unconscious, allowing him to toss her barely alive form into the lake. After he reclaimed Grandma's ring, of course. Brian patted his jeans pocket, and thanked his lucky stars that it hadn't come to such a tragic end for the ballet dancer. It was easier for them both if Jessica went into the lake on her own, and she had. Now he'd never have to see her again. Ugh, I could have at least kissed her goodbye. She was always good at the kissing parts. Too late now. Brian doused the campfire and spent the next hour packing the gear in blissful silence. Brian turned back to cast a final look at the lake before leaving the campsite, and his eyes widened. There's no freaking way! He trailed off while watching a figure crawl from the water's edge. When she was fully on dry land, Jessica stood, threw the bloodied stump of a tentacle onto the ground, and spit the regulator from her mouth. What the hell, Brian? I looked all over that museum and couldn't find those magical shoes anywhere. Brian felt a crinkling around his eye, and his skin felt tight. He looked at his hands, amazed at their papery thin surface and the age spots that were not there a few minutes ago. Great job. Yeah, these were great. Hard decision, which is why you guys get to be the ones making it, I believe. Okay. It's a cold night and the fire doesn't bring me much comfort. I'm sure it would be warmer if I wasn't sitting so close to the edge of the lake, but this is where I need to be. The makeshift drying rack casts ominous shadows across the rocks behind me, but I know I have nothing to fear from the objects lying there. Precious things I spent the past 2 days diving for. I suppose all I have to fear are the authorities if they catch me. This lake hasn't been cleared for diving. With the current water crisis, it's been designated for drinking water. They'll need to process it first, but that takes time. They have to wait at least 3 months after the initial flooding. It's been a long time since I was last here. Too long. I never wanted to come back. But then Ellie showed up. She was the first. The others followed soon after. Neighbors, relatives, a mix of people from the small town I grew up in. The one I abandoned to find work that wasn't in the mines. Scrawny tunnels that had all been picked clean before my parents even met. That dirt poor town failed me, like so many of my generation. No one tried to do anything about the mine once it was empty. The elected officials betrayed us, using our tax dollars to line their pockets while the rest of us starved. Not that it did them any good, they met the same fate as everyone else. From an early age, I knew there was no hope for the future, no prospects, no promises of life. Staying there to rot and wither away in the soot covered dust bowl would have been a death sentence. I was one of the lucky ones. I got away. I left everyone and everything behind and didn't dare go back. I pretended I died. Whenever someone manages to figure out where I was staying, I sent their letters back with the word deceased written across the unopened envelope in bold, black script that I tried to pass off as someone else's. It was easier that way. My friends and family could move on if they thought I was dead, and so could I. When the letters stopped, I thought they accepted my false death as true, and perhaps they had. But when the flood happened, they found me. I must be the last person left alive from back home. My existence, my life force, whatever it is, draws them to me. It didn't take long for me to figure out that they would have found me no matter how far I ran. They hung around me like a fog when they first arrived, whispering, mumbling, whimpering, no coherent words or noises. But I understood why they came to me. I tried to ignore them. But Ellie, she was the most relentless of my unwanted visitors. She never spoke, but she didn't take her eyes off me either. Each time I stole a glance at her, she was more waterlogged and broken down. They disintegrated before me over time. Pieces of skin broke off and floated in the air like they were underwater. After about a week or so, a detached arm floated from the group. I never could tell who it belonged to. They were all packed so close together. When Ellie's once beautiful face started to fall apart, that's when I gave in to her unspoken demands. I packed up and left without a soul. I reached out and grabbed a pair of ballet shoes from off the drying rack. They're not damp anymore, but they're in rough shape, worn out from years of use, ballet practice every day or day after day, in a town that had no time for the performing arts. But Ellie always liked things to be different. Shoes in hand, I turned to her ghost, watching me from the surface of the lake. She's crying, or maybe it's more water damage. Either way, it hurts to look at her. Between overpopulation and the water crisis, when it's scroll up just a little bit. There we go. When the government needs to make another lake, they do. No announcement, no warning, just a sudden flood. The whole process takes less than an hour, depending on the size of the town. They have it down to a science now. They don't give people the people living in the doomed town a chance to escape. What was once a community is now a graveyard. When I set up camp on the man made shore, each ghost sat on the surface, showing me where to dive, pointing out where their body lies, decomposing in the soon to be drinking water. Once the purification process starts, there will be nothing left. No buildings, no people, no memories. I collected a personal item, a memory, for each ghost from what used to be their home. The drying rack is cluttered with trinkets, like the shoes in my hand. I inhale their scent, hoping for something that will remind me of Ellie, but all I get is a nose full of artificial water and rot. I kiss the souls before replacing them on the rack, still struggling to so much as glance at her. I take the bottle of cheap whiskey from my pack and douse the memories I collected. The chemical tang hits the air and makes my eyes tear up. I almost throw the empty bottle right into the lake amid the ghosts, but think better of it. I toss it toward the rocks instead, and it shatters. Lifting a stick out of the fire, I approach the ballet shoes. Thanks to the alcohol, it doesn't take long for them to succumb to the flames. Starting the macabre flambe. Soon, the whole drying rack is alight, filling the air with complicated aromas of whiskey, rot, smoke, and so many memories. I turn to Ellie with tears in my eyes, but she and the other ghosts are gone. Okay. Samantha DeWalt pulled her camper into the campsite. Her girlfriend, Julie Summers, jumped out and ran to the shore of the man made lake. Samantha joined her, and they gazed out across the tranquil waters as sunlight dappled through the towering evergreen trees, casting an ethereal glow on the remains of the town submerged below. The trees around them swayed gently in the breeze, while gray squirrels bounded among the branches, and northern flickers flashed while flashed their white rumps as they flit from tree to tree. Hey, Julie said, bouncing. Let's go explore the shore. There's supposed to be a graveyard. Maybe we can see some of the tombstones. Eh, not my cup of tea. Besides, I want to jot down ideas for the new flambe dishes. We planned this to be a working retreat, right? For the push to take our restaurant to the next level. Ah, heck, Sam, it's always the flambe with you. I want to have fun. Really? Samantha tossed her hands in the air. It's a 2-star Michelin establishment for 3 reasons: work, work, and lots more work. I have to innovate, combine ingredients in novel ways, or I won't be able to maintain the ranking. Julie stood there, gazing out at the lake with her back turned. You go ahead. Julie scampered off. Samantha returned to the camper. In the drawer with her notebook and pen rested her old pair of worn ballet shoes, her good luck charm. She stroked the thin leather, memories whisking her back to her childhood and the years of ballet lessons. She'd had a burning desire to be a ballerina, but her body didn't cooperate. Instead, she transferred her considerable focus to being a chef. Even so, she couldn't bear to throw out the dirty white slippers. She grabbed her writing tools, slammed the drawer on the ballet shoes, and dragged her comfy lounge chair into a sunny spot. Rolling her shoulders, she took a deep breath of the cool, pine-scented air and listened to the melodious birdsong pierced by the sharp chit-chit of the squirrels. She ignored the clatter of the other campers as they put up tents and splashed on the lake shore. She hadn't come up with a new recipe in months, and feared her muse was as dead as the submerged town. She made herself comfortable, pen poised over the paper. A half hour later, Samantha let the pen down on the blank page and rubbed her temples. She scanned the shore. No sign of Julie. I love the girl, but damn, she can be flighty. A sleek red Ferrari convertible rolled slowly past her campsite. She snorted. That's a foolish vehicle to take to a mountain camp. It stopped and reversed until it blocked her campsite. She frowned and stood up, about to ask the driver to relocate his ostentatious car, when he slithered out, smiled, and said, "You must be Sam." Samantha blinked, jaw slack. "I am. And you are?" "I'm Damien." He held out his hand. "Julie's cousin." "Oh, hi." Samantha hesitated, then reached out and ground his knuckles with a hand made strong from kitchen work. His blue eyes widened and as he pulled away. "Ah, quite a grip you have. Are you looking for Julie?" She turned toward the lake and waved when she saw Julie's pixie cut blonde hair bob up from behind a tall, uh, legend blotted tree. She pointed at Damien, mouthing, "Cousin?" Julie ran back along the shore. "Here comes Hurricane Julie." "Hi, Damien." Samantha squinted at Julie, swiveled her gaze toward Damien and back, lifted her brows, and gave a tiny shrug. Julie twisted her mouth, took her cousin's arm, and led him to the picnic table. After a few whispered words, she returned and beckoned Samantha into the trailer. Samantha shut the door. "You were supposed to see Damien. You weren't supposed to see Damien. What's going on?" Julie stared out the window. "Sam, there's something I gotta tell you." She heaved a sigh. "I've decided I do need something else. I can't run the front of the house for you anymore. It's too much for me." "What are you saying? You're terrific at it. Look, if you need time off." Uh, it's not that, Sam. I just. Julie turned toward Samantha. "I gotta leave, Sam. I'm so sorry. I asked Damien to come here and give me a ride home. I'll have my things out of your place by the time you get back." Samantha stumbled after her as Julie grabbed her bag from the camper and threw it into Damien's car. Samantha's eyes filled. "Julie, I don't want to do it without you." The sexy rumble of the Ferrari's engine swallowed her words. Samantha collapsed into her lounge chair. "I've struggled to find inspiration, and now this." Tears overflowed and her stomach hurt. She stood and climbed back into the camper, seeking the comfort of her ballet shoes. Clutching them, she stepped outside and swiped her wet cheeks before slumping back in her chair. Samantha's fingers picked up the pen and twirled it. She wouldn't think about Julie right now. An hour later, 7 pages of fully fleshed out flambe recipes spread out before her. She shook her head. After months without a trickle of ideas, and now a flood. She's a Michelin star chef with a restaurant named the Flambe, and she will survive. She already has. Or she always has. And she was hungry. She selected a simple entree recipe to test. Seared salt-dried filet mignon with grilled peaches flambéed with high-proof brandy. After staring at the After starting the fresh peach halves grilling on the barbecue, she seared the steaks, basting them with buttery pan liquid. When almost medium rare, she added the peaches. For the final flourish, she splashed in an ounce of brandy, let it warm a few seconds, then flipped the pan over the fire. The alcohol fumes combusted with a blue flame. Nearby campers clapped. "So, my muse isn't dead after all." Yeah, I've got a lot of great entries today. I think this is the last one, right, Daniel?
Yes.
Okay. All right, a sign of the time. A murky timber veneer sign hangs from a broken post in the ground between the decrepit campground and the moldy headstones. "At hope abandon ye who enter here." Well, that's new. Not funny. Okay. The place is a mess. But just because the contractor fails in their obligation to maintain and upkeep the campground doesn't give idiots the right to scare people away. This place is fine, or it will be again once I've found a suitable out of town firm to undertake repairs and maintenance issues. Campers will return and partake of summer water sports in a month. Boating and sailing and swimming, ew, nah, not that I would. But tourists are strange creatures. When the lake's frozen, it's the winter sports. Skating and all that stuff people like to do to pretend it's okay to be cold. Tourists bring cash to the new town, built to replace the ragtag of unapproved, badly uh, designed, and outrageously colored buildings. I drowned for the I I think it's I drowned for the dam project. That's what built the horticultural industry and supplied jobs for the whole region. I sacrifice a sacrifice of so little to gain so much. But vendors and graffiti, but vandals and graffiti and complaints continue to spite my efforts. I punch the sliver of wood. My hands feel the sharpness. Sorry, there's a little blurriness on my end. But a professional dancer feels no pain. The silly sign lurches sideways but doesn't fall. It's held up by a dirty pink ribbon tied in a bow. I untie it and pull at the ribbon. It holds a worn ballet shoe, the silk tattered to spiderweb fragilely. A breath scratches my throat like a strand of razor wire. This is my shoe, my memory, and it should be in a box at home. Someone broke into my house, stole my memory, someone touched my cherished history. I drop the defiled slipper. Why is it here? It's a threat. Personal. That's why. What have I ever done except build the community to make the area uh, viable? It's why I gave up fame, to come back to my roots and give back something. This was my home once. It is again, and I do more than my bit to ensure it makes its mark. Don't these people understand economics, how the world works, what it takes to put a place on the map? Lose a tad of history, lose a bad history to gain a strong sense of place, a known name, and hide the past of weird stories and weird people and weirder beliefs. Work, dedication, and commitment does it. And as a professional ballerina, I have what it takes to arabesque and point the new town to a brighter future. When I left this backwards place, I changed my name and faked a death certificate. More fool them for believing the crap they read in the newspapers. I used my new name to get investors for various projects. I helped them climb out of the rut, build this new town, just me, my own sweat and intellect to bring this place into a modern world. No wonder the world doesn't come to their doorstep. Insular, I think I lost it there, Daniel. There we go.
Sorry.
Insular, ignorant, it's okay, parochial bunch of morons. I spin into a pirouette and kick the sign with a flick. Nocturne you, Dante aficionado. They can stuff their sentiments where no sun will ever shine. This betrayal won't go unpunished. Not brave enough to face me. I'm not safe, not appreciated, and despite the lack of welcome on my return, I did my best to improve the place of my birth. No lake without me. No memorial stones lining the banks for people to lay wreaths. Okay, I left the bodies down there, but they're dead. It's the headstones that matter, the memory of things, not the actual things. I tossed the slipper into the black water. That was in the past. Gone. This is now. I can fix this, fix them. I press the record button on my phone and dictate a list of instructions to my assistant. The mayor may need to approve my request, but he'll do it or I'll show his wife the proof of our dalliance. I punt the sign toward the lake. It skips end over end and lands on the sandy verge. No wonder the world walks on by without stopping. Well, I'll give them what they want. I'll pull the plug. Nothing to it. easier to destroy than create. Blast the dam walls, the vineyards, turn the fruit processing factories into waste timber and fermenting refuse. My stomach churns. I've always hated bad smells. One of the many reasons I wanted the old town gone. The artisan tanning and industry hidden beneath hundreds of feet of water, never stinking up my world again. What I set out to achieve, I get done. That is my way, then and now. First, I need to settle my anger. Maybe a session at the shooting range or the driving range. I could do a 400-yard smash today for sure. Ooh, better yet, a lesson at the community kitchens I lobbied for. I'll show them a real flambe. Neat. Start with a little flame rolling over the surfaces and watch it build to the epitome of the hell they want for me. I stomp on the sign, rub it into the smelly, putrid, stagnant dirt, and toe stab it into the limpid excuse for a lake. It stinks. Right. Time to go to work. Create havoc and vengeance, a la the Black Swan. All right. So I think that was all. I'm going to pull this link up on the screen, but it is also in the comments. It's time to pick your favorites. You guys are
All
picking the
right.
winner.
I have no idea if you can hear me, but if you can, yes, you can go ahead and link to your favorite. Yes, it's in the chat. Don't try to type that out on the screen. That's too confusing.
Yeah, it's in the chat. We can hear you, Daniel. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, there's a tiny lag, but other than that, you're good.
Okay, not too bad. Thank you so much for bearing with us. This um and yeah, I see some in the comments. Like, please realize that when we pick the finalists, it's a very tricky process. And so there were a lot of great entries that were on the cusp about it. I wanted to mention that everybody story analysis.
You're cutting out really
I
bad,
think I might
Daniel.
have dropped out there for a bit. Yeah, no
Yeah,
worries.
you're
I think I
cutting
might have
out on
dropped
me.
out for a bit. I wanted to say that I'm sorry about my internet connection, but everybody gets a complimentary story analysis. So even if you're not an AutoCrit member, you will be receiving a message with that story analysis. So that will be awesome.
Yes.
Somebody said a story is not on the page. It is. Which one are you referring to? The second one I didn't have a title of, so it's the Canoeing Mysterious Island
Oh
one.
yeah, the kayak.
Uh if there was a title, I'm sorry, it did not make it to my desk.
Yeah.
Ah, the title is kayak. Okay, well the second one, I'm sorry. It says canoeing, it's technically kayak. My apologies, Kel. It was an excellent piece. Well, no, don't apologize. That was my typo.
All right. How long does everybody get to cast their votes, Daniel? This is exciting.
All right, I'm curious what the results are going to be. I'm just going to give it another moment here.
I don't envy you
Voting is
guys. I'm
very
reading all of these
close.
for the first time. I'm like,
Yeah,
ooh.
voting is very close, everybody. So every vote counts. So if you have not voted, go ahead and do so because yes, you're finding it difficult to pick a winner, which doesn't surprise me. Somebody is asking whether or not we use the story analyzer. No. When we are
Mhm.
vetting these pieces, no, we did not use the story analyzer. We only use the story analyzer for the people that are not members, and we did that after the fact. It was not related to the judging whatsoever. It was just a complimentary service.
Mhm.
I am my own story analyzer.
Well, with judges, it's always that way. We have different judges for different challenges. and they
Yes.
look for
It is
different
crazy.
strengths.
We actually have a four-way tie for second place.
All right. Can we list them off? I can pull them up one at a
All
time,
right.
Daniel.
I'm gonna give you one more moment to vote, and then we will have the winner. So 30 more seconds. If you haven't, this is your chance. I do
You want
think
me
we
to
have a
queue up the
breakout
30
winner. I don't
clock?
think anybody else is gonna make it, but it is a four-way tie for
You want
second
me to pull
place.
up the 30-second clock, Daniel? Are we good?
Well, we've got 10 seconds now.
7, 6, 5,
Okay, I think I'm
4,
back. I like come and go.
2,
It's my
1, and
internet. Yeah, right.
play. All right, Daniel.
All right.
Let's do
So
this.
it's great
If you
that we
want to
let it
type
go
them in the
because there
chat, I
was a
can pull them up.
rally and we ended up with a three-way tie. So third place we have okay, wait. I will go ahead and put them in the chat. So third place.
All right, so these are tied for third place.
Yep.
Okay, so we have the Miracle of Guadalupe Base or Bass, Underwater, and Kayak are tied for third place. Congratulations, everybody. Is this last one also third place, or is that going into second place now, Daniel? With Hell Froze Over.
All right, and the grand winner.
So second place for Hell Froze Over. First place, grand winner, is Who Wouldn't Want to Live Forever. Congratulations.
Yes, yes, congratulations. So you'll get an email with your choice of your prizes. Thanks again, everybody, for being
Yes, thank you.
involved. Woohoo! Becky, was that your story? Was it you? Was it you, Becky?
Yeah, we didn't announce names. This was an anonymous voting. Yeah, congratulations. And if you didn't make the finalists and you would like to share your stories, if you're an AutoCrit Pro member, you do have access to the AutoCrit Pro community forums. When you sign into the hub, on the left-hand side, you will see a button called Community. You can click there, and there's a whole section in the forums for Short Story Challenge. So you are welcome to share your stories with the community there if you would like to do so. We love seeing them. We just don't have time to read everybody on the hour, which is why it's just the finalists here today. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Daniel. Who Wouldn't Want to Live Forever is the #1 grand winner today, Karen. Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. Take care. Bye.